What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, along with Tyler Stafford. And last night, the Astros ran out a lineup that featured Jake Myers hitting cleanup, Cam Smith hitting fifth. They got no hit into the sixth inning by Ranger Suarez, and got a go-ahead home run from a guy named Cooper Hummel, and beat the Philadelphia Phillies 1-0. But no one's talking about that because the most pressing issue of Astro World at the moment is that Jeremy Peña switched his representation to Scott Boras. This is a very layered discussion that we're about to have for the next 25 30 minutes. Tyler, I find it fascinating that like this bit of what is just, I report it's news. Like, don't get me wrong, this is news. But like at the end of the day, it's a guy 2 years away from free agency that hired a new agent, and everyone's acting like it is the apocalypse has arrived. What was your reaction when you found out that Jeremy Peña switched his representation to Scott Boras?
He's really good.
Yeah.
So he's gonna get the best agent who's gonna make him the most money. That's what I would do. Should I ever become a baseball superstar, that's who I would hire. Um, it's funny, this is a problem that keeps coming up for Astros fans, because the Astros keep having really good players. This keeps happening where your young, talented people switch agencies and go to Boris, and it's it's a good problem to have. It's almost like the team that leads the league in double plays every year is actually probably good because it means that they have a bunch of runners on base, and that's why they lead the league in double plays. Leading the league in your young superstars switching to Scott Boris feels very similar, where it's like, that's not fun, but you're headed in the right direction. But um, yeah, it's I don't know. I like what did you think was going to happen? I guess that's where I'm at. It's like what you're watching Jeremy Pena this year. What did you think he was going to do? Like sign a below market extension, way under his value while he's having a career year. He's really coming into his own. Like no, he's gonna sign with somebody. And again, we'll talk about this. This does not like mean that he can't be an Astro. Scott Boras represented Jose Altuve, who signed a long-term extension with the Astros. It's certainly possible. And also, look, this is years away. So same thing with Hunter Brown. When Hunter Brown announced, same thing. Like they're on your team for the next couple of years, regardless, and you'll figure it out as you go. And honestly, you hope that over the next few years his price and Hunter Brown's price keeps going up and up, because that means they're producing a ton of value for the Houston Astros, which is good for you right now. And as I've said before, what my dad used to say to me whenever I wanted something is all it takes is money. So switching representation to Scott Boras doesn't mean you're not allowed to sign the player. It just means you have to pay him what he's worth, and all that takes is money.
And it's not our money, so we can
Yeah, no,
talk.
it's easy for me to spend it.
Oh yeah, it's very easy. We're going to spend a lot of Jim Crane's money
Mm-hmm.
on this podcast. So a couple things to, and I want to agree with a couple things you said. First of all, there is this thought, I guess, among Astros fans, and maybe because I only got here in 2018, maybe you have more institutional like knowledge of this. Maybe you've been scarred by Scott Boras before, but like there seems to be this thought that like Scott Boras is like the boogeyman. Like Scott Boras is like hates the Astros or like never works well with the Astros, or it's some that is a weird take for me because, like you mentioned, Jose Altuve has signed 2 extensions with the Astros with Scott Boras as his agent. Lance McCullers has signed an extension prior to free agency with the Astros with Scott Boras as his agent. The thought that Scott Boras does not entertain long-term extensions is not true. Like you have 2 members of your current 26-man roster that are living proof of that. The difference is Jose Altuve never wanted to play anywhere else but Houston. Like Jose Altuve instructed Scott Boras, hey, I don't want to go to free agency. I don't want to play anywhere but here. Get it done. Lance McCullers Jr., kind of the same thing. always wanted to stay here, liked it here, wanted to play for the Astros for as long as that could be allowed. Scott Boras got that done. Scott Boras works for the players. If a player informs Scott Boras, hey, I don't want to do free agency is not my thing. I like it here. I like Houston. I like where I live. I like my teammates. I like the culture, everything like that. Get it done. Scott Boras will do that. This is not to suggest that Jeremy Pena has not expressed that. I don't want to put words in his mouth. He has never come out publicly and say, I want to stay here forever. He has never said, I want to stay with the Astros forever. To be frank, to be honest, though, he's never been asked that. He did mention at one point earlier this year that playing for one team for his entire career is something that he has thought about. That is not the most full-throated, please let me stay, be an Astro for life declaration, but it still is something to be mindful of. But to tie all this together, I will remind you that Carlos Correa, when he was a free agent, basically begged the Astros to sign him to a career-long extension. So he went on the team's flagship radio station on a team-run radio broadcast, Astroline with Robert Ford, and said, I want to be an Astro for life. At that point, Carlos Correa was not represented by Scott Boras. He hired him later on in his free agency. The Astros made him I believe it was 5 for 160. I think that was the offer they made him. And at the time, forget about what Carlos Correa has done since. Take yourself back to 2021. At the time, that was nowhere near Carlos Correa's market value. And it became pretty obvious that, yes, Carlos Correa really wanted to stay in Houston. He had friends here. Lance McCullers is still one of his best friends. He's very tight with Jose Altuve. He's very tight with Jeremy Pena, to be honest with you. He wanted to stay here, but he also wasn't going to take a below market hometown discount to stay here. And I think that's where the Astros find themselves now, is they have got to maybe, if they want to keep this core, if they want to stop what has happened in the past 4 or 5 years, all these homegrown guys leaving, all these homegrown guys getting bigger deals, like the restraints on the contracts, they've got to maybe be a little more flexible. Like, they've never given anything longer than a 6-year they've never guaranteed anything longer than 6 years in an extension. They've never guaranteed a player more than $151 million. And that was to Jose Altuve, his first extension. Tyler, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I can say, like, Jeremy Pena with his previous representation was talking with the Astros about an extension. Unless that number started with a 2, it should have been a non-starter. And that may not even get it done. A number that starts with a 2. And unless there is no reason for Jeremy Pena to sign an extension unless the Astros give him the sort of offer he can't refuse. And when, Tyler, has this team ever given a player the sort of offer that he can't refuse?
Yeah, and we've talked ourselves in circles around this a lot. It's worked out for the
Right.
Astros as well. So it's hard to watch homegrown talent leave, but you can't really point to any example of a player that they did not sign to a mega contract where that player outperformed what they signed for, or that the Astros weren't able to replace. I mean, Jeremy Pena is living proof. Like,
Right.
Carlos Correa leaves and Jeremy Pena comes in and magically is amazing. I mean, you don't want to bet on that every time. That's certainly not the norm. Um, but again, you got 2.5 years to figure it out. You know, you can start looking for players to potentially replace Pena, or you can decide this is somebody that we do want to lock up. But we've talked about it time and time again that, you know, both of us get messages all the time. Why don't they extend this guy, or why don't they extend that guy? If it's past a year and that player is good, it is not in their best interest to sign an extension. It just isn't. And, like, you know, we saw the number floated today that, you know, I know you haven't reported this yet, but it's 5 years, 105 million for Jeremy Pena. If he signed that, it would have been malpractice by
Correct.
his agent. Like, of course, you as an Astros fan are like, oh, they were so close. Yeah, that's free. Like, that's that would be a terrible deal for Jeremy Pena relative to what his potential market value is. And, it's certainly something that he could have signed if he really wanted to. I mean, it would be hard for me to turn down $105 million. I haven't had that opportunity yet. I hope to at some point in my life. But, he didn't sign it if that was a real offer that existed. And he shouldn't have. Like, if that news came out and he signed that this offseason,
they would have he would have been panned.
yeah, well, he's one of the best players in baseball right now. He has a 4.6 WAR. He's about to surpass his highest career WAR for a season. We're not even at the All-Star break. He's a 146 OPS plus. He's playing incredible defense. He's hitting 326. Like, you can't sign a 5-year, $105 million
No.
extension like that, especially with his age too, where he came up a little older. It's not like he came up like Correa at 20, where you're hitting free agency at 27. Jeremy Pena is 27 now, so he's going to hit free agency at 30. So if he signed a 5-year extension, that's 32. So you make $105 million, but then what? Like, who's signing you to a big contract at 32? Probably not a lot of teams, unless you're playing at a ridiculous level. And if you're playing at a ridiculous level, you shouldn't have signed that contract in the first place. So it's kind of a lose lose there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to keep happening. Scott Boras is going to get all of the best players because that's what he does. And it's nothing personal. Like you said, it's not like Scott Boras is out here trying to get the Astros, because if anything, Scott Boras doesn't make any money off the Astros. It's not like he's coming in here going like, "Oh, I'm gonna get one over on the Astros." Like, no, he's gonna presumably make more money from another team at some point. But again, this is a long time from now. Like, you're in the middle of a season that's going really well. Jeremy Pena is playing incredible. I'm just gonna like back burner this and go like, well, we'll figure this out when the time comes.
Maybe you will back burner it, but
Mhm.
judging by my mentions on social media and comments on the Athletic site, people are not back burner. I don't know if it's just because like the Astros current team is like, I don't want to say they're boring, but like they they pitch and play defense, and it's a lot of low scoring games. Like, it's not maybe the most entertaining brand of baseball to watch, even though they're winning. I don't know why this has like become this huge, massive deal that has overtaken any discussion of the actual team. But it is what it is, and we're here to serve the fans. We're here to get clicks, and we're here to get views. Thank you, by the way, for watching this. We're going to hear from our friends at Foul Territory, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about maybe how the Kyle Tucker trade maybe repositions the view on how you should view this. But right now, we're going to hear from our friends at Foul Territory.
By now, you know about Arena Club. Buy, sell, trade, open up slab packs to get a card that you don't think you could get usually, but the Grails will tell you that, for example, there's an Aaron Judge rookie card in this week's slab packs, so make sure you check those out.
No doubt. Those are what you want, the Grails.
Mhm.
Aaron Judge Grail is awesome, graded, traded if you want, tell you how much it's worth, whatever you want to do. And I'm a big Michael Jordan fan with my 23 shirt on. There's a Michael Jordan Grail in there that I'm looking forward to try to get.
20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL.
Yeah, so first, let's give some credit to some people that have reported some things today. John Heyman of the New York Post said that the Astros and Jeremy Peña were in pretty deep contract extension talks before he switched to Scott Boras. That's something that I also can confirm for whatever it's worth. Not that I needed to confirm John Heyman. Ari Alexander at KPRC2 put out one figure, said it was around 5 years, $105 million. John Heyman said it was around $100 million. Again, when you start getting into figures, like I said earlier, unless it starts with a 2, it's really not worth discussing. If the offer truly was 5 for 105, that is a laughable offer for a guy that, I think Jeremy Peña has been a little misunderstood just in analyzing him in his Astros career because of what he did in October of 2022. Just got on the most well-timed heater in Houston sports history and won ALCS and World Series MVP. And I think maybe there was an expectation that he become this superstar. And while the numbers in 2023 and 2024 were not superstar level, they were still very good. Like, I mean, he had a 4-win season in 2024 and a 3.9 win season in 2023. Like that, those are two very good seasons. He was a below average hitter in both of those seasons, but still, like, this is not a player that is a one-hit wonder and now is all of a sudden coming out of nowhere. This has been building for a while. And when you've got all that on your resume, like, you're obviously worth more than the 105 million that reportedly was offered to him. But I do wonder, Tyler, the Astros have opened themselves up to a lot of theories now, because this past winter they traded their best player because they didn't want to pay him. Like that is a philosophical change. Like the Astros, when Bregman was around, when Correa, Springer, Cole, all the guys that were going into last year, their deals that you knew there was no chance they were ever going to pay them, they just let them play their final season. They slapped a qualifying offer on them, and they got the draft pick when they signed elsewhere. When you make the sort of move that they made in trading Kyle Tucker, that now begs the question, is that going to be the norm going forward? If Jeremy Pena does, as we presume, and completes a 7 to 7.5 win season this year, or Hunter Brown, finishes top 3 in the Cy Young voting and cements himself as the best pitcher and one of the best pitchers in the American League, and they see the price tag is getting to a place where they're not comfortable going. We can take this with Pena because Brown's a little further from free agency than Pena is. Like, at this point, like, should we start wondering, like, how much longer is Jeremy Pena here from that vantage point? Because we have seen them trade a very, very good asset for no other reason than they knew they were not going to pay him the next year.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much of a philosophical shift as much as a team construction shift. Like my thought is, I can tell you if Jeremy Pena is going to be traded or not based on how good the Astros are projected to be before the 2028 season. Like if they're a 95 win team, they're not trading Jeremy Pena. If they had been projected to be one of the World Series favorites this year, they would not have traded Kyle Tucker. I think they were able to justify trading a very, very good player, someone who still would have been the best player on their team this year. That's how good of a year Kyle Tucker is having. Like, despite Jeremy Pena's ascension, like, Kyle Tucker still would have been, the best player or right there with Pena. They would not have traded him if they were projected to win 95 games this year. They wouldn't have. That wouldn't have made any sense. And so I don't think it's something that they're gonna, trade 2 years out from free agency or anything like that. I think it's a team dependent thing. If the team is an 83 win team in 2028, you should trade Jeremy Pena before that year of free agency if you don't think, you're going to re-sign him. I mean, it's also hard to talk about 2027 and 2028 baseball because there's a big asterisk of if applicable.
Will there be baseball?
Yeah. If there is baseball at that time, what will the Astros be projected to do? But no, I mean, Jeremy Pena is not going anywhere in the next 2 years. I think the only time you would consider that is just what Tucker was, at the winter meetings before his final year of team control. You start looking around and seeing what's available. But I mean, to your point, like, yes, he's having an incredible year this year. Even before that, so even when we're talking about that contract extension, a 4-win guy for all 3 years in the big leagues, he's been a 4-win player. He plays every day. Like, even if he was
at a premium position,
even if he was just that contract extension is laughable. Like, take out this year entirely, that's a really, really valuable player. And so, yeah, I mean, that extension is not real. So, I mean, that's the same as me saying, like, I offered him, $100 in Chick-fil-A gift cards to play for my adult softball league team. Like, that's the same level of seriousness if we're really looking at it for a contract extension. But no, it remains to be seen. And the reason I say that it's not a philosophical change is that that's why they're not trading Fromber this year, because the team is good. Like they're not going to trade away important players when they think they have a real shot in the playoffs, and they do this year, which is why Fromber's not going anywhere. Um, and that's why Kyle Tucker did, because they didn't think of themselves as legitimate tier one World Series contenders coming into the season. But now I think they certainly feel like they have a shot in a weak American League, and that's why they're not going to trade anybody. So I think that applies to Jeremy Pena as well, that he's not going anywhere as long as the team is good.
I mean, I will counter with, Dana Brown was sat in a suite at the winter meetings when they were deciding on trading Kyle Tucker. And the question was asked, I asked it, like, in you guys' internal models, do you think you can win the American League West without one of Tucker or Valdez? And he said their internal model said yes. And to me, if you view yourself as a division winning team, like inherently that means you are a legitimate World Series contender because you are making the playoffs as a division winner. Like, so I think I think they thought of themselves as a contending team this year. Did they think they were going to be the 2019 Astros? Obviously not. Did they think they were going to be on I think if you injected truth serum into a lot of people, did they think they were going to be on a 95 win pace right now? Probably not. But I think they knew that they would have Fromber. They knew Hunter Brown was probably going to take that next step. The faith had always been there in Jeremy Pena that he could, ascend to where what the flashes you have seen from him in the past. I don't think they expected, a top 3 MVP vote, a top 3 MVP candidate in Jeremy Pena. So there have been things that have exceeded their expectations, but sure, like they went into this season very much thinking that they were going to contend for a playoff spot. And as we have talked about on here ad nauseum, once you get in the playoffs, it's a crapshoot. Like once you get in, like anyone can win the World Series. Like the 2019 Nationals won the World Series. The 2021 Braves won the World Series. Once you get in, it doesn't matter. So, it's difficult for me to think of it from that lens. Like, I think trading Kyle Tucker was much more of they needed to inject some life into the farm system, which they thought they were going to do with Cam Smith, and Cam Smith never spent a day in the farm system. I think that is the bigger kind of thing here. Jeremy Pena's future is dependent on what do they have behind him, because at the time we didn't know much about Jeremy Pena when Carlos Correa walked, but they let Carlos Correa walk because they had Jeremy Pena waiting in the wings. No one knew much about him because he hadn't played much minor league baseball because he had been hurt and the pandemic, and just there wasn't a ton really known about him other than that they really liked him. There ain't no one down there now. Maybe within the next 2 years they find someone and they've got that heir apparent, but I think that, Tyler, is more indicative of Jeremy Pena's future than whether they think they're a contender in 2 years.
Yeah, and again, this is 2.5 years away. They've got time to find somebody. Jeremy Pena was the 102nd overall pick in the draft. Like, it's not like he was Correa going 1-1 and they knew that this was a like, this stuff happens. You draft people and then they develop really well in the Astros system. Again, we keep talking about it, but the Astros have proven that they are able to develop high-end talent with less than high-end pedigrees. I mean, you look at your superstars on the team right now. It's Framber Valdez, who was not a huge signing. Hunter Brown, a 5th-round pick, and Jeremy Pena, a 3rd-round pick. Out of both of those out of not prestigious programs. There's nothing to say that in the next 2.5 years the Astros are not able to find somebody. But regardless, it's still a ways away. So right now you just enjoy having Jeremy Pena on your team. And you like we said, you don't stop negotiating. You don't stop trying to lock somebody up if that's who you really want on your team. And as someone who watches Jeremy Pena every day, I sure would like to continue watching Jeremy Pena every day. That makes a lot of sense. but it's not like the Astros are just blocked now, and like
Right.
Scott Boras isn't picking up phone calls, right? Like if they want to make a real offer, that's like you said, an offer that they can't refuse, they will, and he'll sign it, and he'll be an Astro until he's 45 if he wants to. It just takes money, and so it's a conversation now of, I mean, honestly, it's just a conversation of equals. It's Scott Boras who knows what he's doing and is going to extract maximum value for his players. And yes, I can already hear the people saying, well, he held out for this guy and he only got 1 year, 20 million, and he missed it. Like, yeah, that happens sometimes. But look, there's no scenario where Scott Boras is going to allow Jeremy Pena to sign any sort of extension that you would not be sick to your stomach reading. Like, if it does not make you nervous to see a contract, then Jeremy Pena is not signing that, and he shouldn't. He is young. He's 2.5 years away from free agency. He's at a premium position. He has proven that he is, like, his floor, like like you said, he hasn't even been a good hitter the last 2 years, and he's been a 4-win player. That the floor is so high for him. Every team in baseball would love to have a player like that. He's gonna make money, and so that's why Scott Boras is here. That's why Jeremy Pena signed with him.
Yeah, it'll take the largest contract in franchise history. Like, it's going to take more than 6 years and $151 million, and that's what Jose Altuve got in his not his last extension, but the one before that. It's going to take something more than that. It'll take the largest contract in franchise history, just like it would have taken the largest contract in franchise history to get Alex Bregman, which they should be noted. They did offer him. What they offered him was the largest contract in franchise history. At the time when they offered Carlos Correa 5 for $160, that was the largest contract in franchise history. I don't think either of those numbers get it done either. So, yeah, they're going to have to get uncomfortable. They're going to have to get uncomfortable, and if they want to do this, and something that we have talked about numerous times, like, if extensions are what they want to do, and Dana Brown, when he came from Atlanta, that was he was riding that horse well into Houston, that they were going to extend everyone. You got to do it early. Like, you've got to do it, like we've talked about with Cam Smith. Like, they probably should have done it. Conversations probably should have started like before opening day. Like,
you could do it now if you wanted to. I wouldn't mind if they wanted to announce an 11-year, $250 million extension for Cam Smith. I'd be okay with that.
Think of how many times you guys could go to the zoo. He could probably get in the zoo.
We could own the zoo.
You could own the zoo. Yeah.
Buy a giraffe and put it in his backyard if he wanted to.
I think he'd like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a lot about like how this is so far away, and I agree. We're talking a lot about things that aren't going to happen for the next 2 years. So we're going to hear from our friends at Foul Territory. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the actual team and the current team, give some injury updates and maybe some things going forward. But right now, a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fam, did you know that Huel has sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it is your turn to try it. While I drink it.
Drink up, Scott, so I can discuss Huel and how I love it. I had some for breakfast this morning. I like to drink it post-workout because of the protein included in it. It always tastes delicious, whether it's strawberry, banana, chocolate, vanilla, whatever the flavor is. It tastes like a dessert, honestly. It should not taste as good as it does.
I agree. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use the FT code. That is FOUL, F-O-U-L, at Huel.com/FOUL. Don't miss out. Try Huel today for a perfectly balanced meal. If you miss a meal, if you're looking for a little protein boost, you just saw me drinking the Black Edition ready to drink. There's the vanilla flavor. I love what the chocolate brings to the table. It's really damn good. So give it a shot, FT fam. 15% off plus a free gift for new customers with the code FOUL.
Yordan Alvarez is swinging a bat, Tyler.
Hey, okay.
And we got another injury.
Exciting.
And we got another injury report. Like names,
we did it.
Like names, body parts.
We changed the trajectory of the Houston Astros organization. You're welcome, everyone. It was all us.
I feel like we deserve a playoff share.
Mm-hmm.
At least like half of a playoff share if this team makes the playoffs.
Or $105 million extension. I will take that as well.
I mean, if they're trying to spend it, then I'll, you know what? I'll take half.
Okay.
We'll
split it.
Yeah, we can split it. There you go.
Uh-huh.
We can split the $105 million extension. So Yordan Alvarez is swinging a bat. Don't know a ton beyond that, but the fact that he is swinging a bat is a meaningful step in the right direction. He hit off a tee, I believe, on Sunday. He was supposed to hit off of a tee yesterday. I presume he did it. I did not see him do it. They do that down in the clubhouse where we can't see things in the batting cage. So obviously getting him back would be a massive boost that this team needs. But I think a lot more eyes are probably fixated on the pitching, on the returning pitchers, just because I think Tyler, and we've talked about this, that's going to influence what they do at the trade deadline. Because if they feel confident that Spencer Arrighetti, Lance McCullers, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, and JP France can all come back in some capacity and offer some effectiveness and meaningful innings, then they really don't need to beat the pavement and give up a ton for pitching upgrades. But if any of those guys have any setbacks, or if any of those guys come back and don't look like themselves, then the calculus changes. Obviously, we think, or I think that, Arrighetti and McCullers are those are relatively minor. I mean, Spencer Arrighetti broke his thumb. That's not a minor injury, but still, it's something that should be easier maybe to facilitate a comeback from than, reconstructive elbow surgeries that Garcia and Javier had, and then JP France's shoulder injury. Of those guys, Tyler, of those five pitchers I just talked about, who do you think has the highest floor to really provide the boost that the middle of this rotation needs behind Valdez and Brown?
Hand up, I forgot about JP France.
Okay.
When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, they have so many people on the injured list that I just straight up forgot.
Nice guy, likes to shoot things.
Famously, I met him at the Nashville airport waiting for bags. I recognized his tattoos.
Yeah.
I was like, there he is.
Super nice dude. I hope you talked to him. Super nice guy.
I said hello.
Yeah.
And he said, get away from me. No, it was like the day after the playoff loss that he gave up a ton of runs. And
Game 7.
but I was like, hey, great season. I didn't mention the game that he pitched. I think literally like the day before. I'm pretty sure it was like the day before that he did that. But anyway, floor wise, I think the answers are obvious. This is the two guys that are closest to coming back. Lance McCullers, you kind of know what you're gonna get with him when he's healthy, and knock on wood, he's healthy. No more lifting weights. That has long been my policy to avoid getting injured. Is I don't lift weights, and it's worked out well for me.
So that's why you don't work out.
That's why I didn't want to get injured and hurt my team by lifting weights. And Spencer Arrighetti is a good pitcher, and there's no reason to expect that he's not. He didn't have any structural issues, right? Like, it's not, like you said, it's not a shoulder, it's not an elbow. He broke his thumb. He should be able to come back and be pretty close to what he was before. But the one that I'm most anxious about is Christian Javier. Christian Javier, when he's right, as we've seen, is unhittable. And he has proven that on multiple occasions, that teams are not able to get hits off of him in a single game. He's been out for a while. He's not going to come back until the end of the year. He already had lower velo than most other pitchers in the same kind of tier as him. And, he lived on throwing 92-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle and have people swing through them. If that's 90 miles an hour, I don't know, so that's one that I think the floor is a lot lower, because there's a very real chance that Christian Javier just doesn't have it this year, whether he's not worked up enough or, like I said, the velo's just not there. And he was skating on thin ice really when he's pitching, because he's not just blowing guys away. Like he relied a lot on that spin rate and it being confusing to hitters and stuff. And so I do fear that if he loses a step there, that a lot of that, could cause him trouble. But he's the one that I think you look at when you start constructing your October, pitching staff, is a guy that, man, if he's coming in the 5th, sixth inning and can give you 2 innings, and it looks like the Christian Javier of old. I think he's the one that could be like a secret weapon for the Astros in the playoffs. But yeah, you hope Arrighetti and McCullers can come back and provide you length over the remainder of the season. But those are the guys that I really have my eye on.
Can I say something like not controversial, but just like that I don't think is being like discussed a ton?
The New York
Spencer.
City mayoral race. You
Oh
want to
yeah,
comment on that?
I'm good. I'm gonna sit that one out.
Okay.
Spencer Arrighetti has a 4.60 major league ERA in his career. Like, I'm not sure. Like, and I don't want this to be anything against Spencer Arrighetti, who was a young pitcher, still learning the league, still getting his foot under. I don't know what I'm.
You
trying
got
to
it.
say.
Here it comes.
Trying to get his footing in the big leagues. He has made a grand total of 31 major league appearances. It is very hard to judge a guy off of 31 major league appearances. I think, are we overvaluing maybe what he can bring? I think at his best, you saw him at the end of last year. At his best, he can miss bats. He can get you deep in games. He's got a little red ass in him. He's got, a nice temperament he's a very competitive guy, kind of like a little bit of Hunter Brown, not without the Detroit toughness of Hunter Brown. Like he's the same kind of model there, but I mean, you look at the numbers, like I don't think this is the guy that like you want to say like, oh, like he's going to come in and he's going to automatically like just the ceiling's never been higher and going to raise the floor. Like I think we need to temper maybe some expectations for him, especially a guy that hasn't pitched in 2.5 months with a broken bone in his pitching hand. So I wonder how much that enters the Astros calculus as they approach the deadline too, because do you go with, if there is a person you can get, I don't know who it would be, is there someone out there that is more of a known commodity, that is more an established guy that has done this for multiple seasons, that has the track record and the consistency that maybe Spencer Arrighetti doesn't have? And this is not to suggest that Spencer Arrighetti is going to come back and they're just going to go away from him. He's going to slot right back into the rotation. They're going to have huge expectations for him. And if he goes out and pitches well, then this conversation is stupid and I look like an idiot. But I do wonder how much that enters into their calculus, though, that this is still a young pitcher that really hasn't had a ton of big league experience relative to maybe what they could get at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Spencer Arrighetti is not your premier top end starter. He certainly has, like we said, the ceiling. I mean, he struck out 10.6 guys per nine last year. Like that's not nothing. He can certainly do it. Again, when you're talking about roster construction for a season, you need 5 healthy adults to pitch in your starting rotation who can go 5-6 innings and not get blown out. Spencer Arrighetti does that on a relatively consistent basis. He's going to have some stinkers every once in a while. He's going to have some games where, he goes 7 1/3 and strikes out 11, and you're like, whoa, this guy's awesome. But overall, that you're getting 5 2/3 and 3 runs on average from him, and that is a very valuable player to have in the regular season. And then when the postseason comes, that's a guy that if there's not someone that he is clearly better at, to be your third or fourth starter, that's a guy again who can dominate out of the bullpen, in the postseason. So you're right. Like he's not going to come back and like fix the Astros' problems in the rotation. He's not a seismic upgrade over any of the guys who are filling in right now, other than you're pretty sure what you're going to get from him on most days, which is valuable. I mean, it's the same way that Jeremy Peña playing every day and having a 4-win floor is valuable. Like, what you're getting for the most part in a Spencer Arrighetti start. And so, yeah, that is certainly someone who you can look to provide value. But you're right. Like, he's not coming up and gonna save your season. Certainly, judging by track record. Now, again, Hunter Brown was terrible a year ago.
Yeah.
So like it's not to say that Spencer Arrighetti does not have that in him. I didn't appreciate that Detroit comment. How dare you disrespect Cinco Ranch High School and their toughness? Saw that band play a lot in high school. I was dating the drum major of Baytown Sterling's band, and Cinco Ranch was in the same district. So I can tell you one thing: their band is very good and scary. So I assume that translates over to the pitchers that they've graduated to the big leagues in Spencer Arrighetti. So I'm with you. Like, yes, temper expectations. He's not going to, become a co-ace with Fromber and Hunter Brown. But he is a good pitcher, and you know what you're getting, and that's valuable.
How did dating the drum major work out for you?
It was great. We were on time everywhere. No, it was great. Didn't work out. That's not who I married. But she's a wonderful person, and yes, dated the drum. So I got really good at counting time like this. This is how cool I was in high school. I wasn't in band, but I went to all of the band. Do you know how much of a loser you have to be to not even be in? I was the like cheer section for the high school band. I was very cool and popular in high school.
You were out for love. Like you go where your true love is. Sorry, Alicia. Sorry, Alicia. One thing Spencer Arrighetti will help with, and this is undeniable. Colton Gordon has an 18% whiff rate this year. Ryan Gusto has a 24% whiff rate this year. Spencer Arrighetti has a career 28% whiff rate. Neither Gordon nor Gusto really miss a ton of bats. Gusto really only misses bats with his fastball. His secondary stuff is really not evolved yet. Colton Gordon misses no bats. He throws just a ton of strikes and relies on weak contact or contact that goes right to guys. Spencer Arrighetti can get, you just said he strikes out 10 guys per 9 innings. He can miss bats a lot better than the two guys that are in the back of the rotation now. So that is one place where he will really, really help this rotation that really doesn't have a ton of issues at the moment.
Just for context real quick, just so everyone understands, 10.6 batters per 9 striking out is
That's
absurd.
insane. That's insane.
Do you have any guess as to what Justin Verlander's 20-year career, what his strikeout per 9 is?
I'd probably say like in the high 8s.
It's 9 exactly.
9?
Like 10.6 is stupid. And again, it's been one season's worth of innings basically. But again, his ceiling is a lot. Like that's why you look at a guy like that as opposed to, as you said, Gusto and Gordon and the other fella who plays
Brandon
for
Walter. I still haven't met him. I covered this team allegedly, and I still haven't met him.
Yep,
I need to do that at some point.
He is a different person from Colton Gordon, and
he's a ginger. Brandon Walter's a ginger.
I knew that.
Now you know.
But again, look, his ceiling is much, much higher than those guys. That's why you're excited to have him back. He's still super young. Heck, maybe they can get him to sign an extension with a cast on for something now before he comes back out. Maybe float the Pena extension and see. But yeah, you're right. He's not somebody that you're relying on, that you're just like waiting with bated breath to come back yet. But he's somebody to get excited about for sure.
Yeah, I think Spencer Arrighetti would take he would take $105 million.
Quit talking down on these guys. You're so mean.
I know.
Why do you hate the Astros?
Why
won't they trade Fromber?
You sound like half their team employees now. Spencer Arrighetti would take $105 million if Dana Brown offered it. Maybe he will.
Do you know how much Jeremy Peña has made in his career?
I would probably. Are you counting his draft bonus? He probably didn't get a huge draft bonus.
I doubt he got.
Thinking about.
I'm looking at his career earnings through 2025 on.
He made probably not more than like $3 or $4 million.
Yeah, it's 8. So it does include the signing bonus. So he got $500,000, and then.
Oh yeah, he was in his first year. He was in his first.
So he got $4 million this year.
Okay,
he's made $8 million in his career, which again, good. That's a lot of money. It does show you that like to turn down $105 million is like, that takes some gumption, man. Like that's a lot of money to turn down. It's the right decision ultimately. But this is the point of why you have to offer people contract extensions way before they hit arbitration, way before they have an idea of like, this is my ceiling that I could get. Not to like trick them, but like, look, here's generational wealth for you and your great grandkids. We're taking a risk because you may not be worth this, but you're taking a risk because you may end up being worth more than that, and hopefully you can get another contract after that. You meet in the middle, but you can't do that in year 4. They're too close to free agency at that point. So I've had people say, why don't they extend Paredes? Paredes is not signing an extension. I mean, maybe he would if they offered him a ton of money, but same reason Pena's not signing an extension. Same reason Hunter Brown's not signing an extension. They're too close at this point to free agency, and they're going to take their shot on that because look, every year some team signs somebody to a crazy contract. I mean, look at Xander Bogaerts. The Padres signed him to, I mean, I think they gave him a key to the city. It's like what, 300 and something $million, and he is just certifiably not good anymore. And but he's gonna be fine. He's making so much money. Like that's why you don't sign an extension early.
Would you like to know who negotiated that contract for Xander Bogaerts that got him the key to the city in San Diego?
11 years, $280 million. He is signed through 2033, and he has an 87 OPS plus as a 32-year-old, 5 years out.
Would you like to guess who negotiated that contract?
Was it Scott Boras?
It was, which is why Jeremy Peña now has him as his representation. And it is why $105 million or anything that starts with a 1 is probably not getting anything done with Jeremy Peña, if anything can get done with Jeremy Peña before he hits free agency, because that is probably now near non-existent because of his new representation in Scott Boras. We appreciate you guys listening to this and hearing our rambling about things that will happen 3 years in the future. If there even is baseball 3 years in the future, who knows? The oceans and the tides could rise and we could all die in 3 years. Who knows? Who can say?
There you go. Hope the kids are listening to this.
Yeah, don't put
some positivity.
Don't put this on TV for Livy and Margot. Please don't. Please don't. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify if you enjoyed this uplifting message. Please subscribe on YouTube so you can get alerted every time we post a new podcast. You can, as always, follow Tyler on X at Tyler C. Stafford. You can follow me at Chandler_Rome. We will be back on Friday with Josh Reddick to recap the rest of this Phillies series and preview Seiya Suzuki coming in with the Chicago Cubs, along with, I guess, Ryan Presley and Kyle Tucker to preview that series. We'll do that with Josh Reddick on Friday. But until then, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.